In 2000, we bought an abandoned 100-acre farm in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. We spent years cleaning it up, built a new house, and now are trying to make it a functional homestead farm. Welcome to Red Tool House.
Well, hello everybody, welcome to Red Tool House. We wanted to do this video to help our local customers that buy pork off of us or are considering buying pork off of us, give them some insight as to how we do this process. So if you want to become a customer, what are your options and how does all this work? Well, let's begin with a quick overview of what we do here. We raise pastured pork, which means that our pigs have access to pasture. They can roam around, they get all kinds of diverse food options. We still give them a supplementary grain source, so they do get protein through that as well. Since a pig's not a ruminant, it can't just live off grass. But we give them the opportunity to let a pig be a pig. We raise very happy and healthy pigs is what our goal is. So they have access to a stream for water and for wallowing. You can see they're just kind of hanging out here enjoying a little bit of sunlight we have today. But we just let a pig be a pig, and that's our goal as we raise these hogs. Well, obviously the critical question is, what does it cost to get pork from Red Tool House? Well, the way this works, as we approach our processing date, we actually 2 or 3 months prior to our processing date for our herd, we start reaching out to our customers and friends to say, hey, who wants a hog from us? And people that are interested in buying half or a whole hog will put a deposit down. They put a deposit of $50 down for a half, put a deposit of $100 down for a whole. So the deposit's made, and that secures the hog for the customer. And then to determine the overall price, we do everything by weight. So we charge $3.50 a pound for a whole hog and $4.50 a pound for a half hog. Now that poundage is based upon weight. It's kind of funny that customers will ask me, well, how much is it going to cost? And I can't just come out and give them a straight answer. I kind of hem-haul around and like, well, why can't you give me an answer? Well, again, everything's based upon weight. You know, it's tough for me to get her on a scale. So I really can't just weigh her to say, okay, she's going to weigh X. I have to wait for the processing time to figure out what the weight of the hog's going to be. And actually, that $3.50 and $4.50 isn't based on the weight of that pig standing there. That's the hoof weight. We actually base the price on hanging weight. Hanging weight is after the butchering process has started. That's after the pig has been eviscerated and the skin has been removed, which is roughly about 76% of the standing weight of a pig. Now, when it comes to determining price, obviously the hanging weight is what we base that off of, but we do have history, so we can go back and look at that. So if a customer says, oh, how much do you think it's going to cost me to buy a whole hog? I can go back and look at our history and say, well, if we get to 300 pounds standing, we know the hanging weight is going to average around 210, 220. We've been as high as 245. We've been as low as 180. But we know our hanging weight's going to be around in that area. So you can do the math. So if it's a whole hog, $3.50 times 200 pounds would be the cost of the hog. Now that is the price of the meat. There are additional costs for processing. And sometimes people say, well, why don't you include processing costs in the per pound? Well, the processing can be relative as well because there's so many different options. We really want to make sure our customers know all the options they can get when they process a pig. It's a pretty good investment, so we want to make sure you get exactly what you want. So processing options, smoking, sausage links, sausage patties, there's so many different things you can do there that affects the cost of the processing. So processing can range from $90 all the way up to $180, depending on what all processes you have done. And we go over that with our customers and explain in detail so they know exactly what they're getting into. So about a month before the processing dates, we've taken our deposits from our customers. We send out to those customers a cut sheet, and it's a form that we've created that is kind of a pick list, a grocery list, if you will. You can go through and just choose how you want to have your hog processed. Do you want pork chops with bone in? Do you want them with bone out? Do you want them 1 inch thick? Do you want them 1.5 inches thick? Do you want your bacon smoked? Do you want your ham smoked? All kinds of options there that you can go through. And it may seem a little overwhelming, but again, we really want to encourage options for our customers. And we answer any questions that our customers have. I usually go through the cut sheet with a first-time customer in detail so they understand exactly what they're getting into. Again, because it is a good investment. It is something that's going to hopefully feed your family for a year. But we want to make sure that you're getting exactly what you want. So that cut sheet goes out. the customer fills that out and sends it back to us. Okay, so the next thing, as the day of processing arrives, it's time to get all the kids on the bus and get them off to freezer camp. So we load up our pigs, we haul them to our processor. Our processor now that we use currently is about an hour away. So once those pigs are taken, we obviously assign cut sheets to the hogs. The processor completes those orders. And it's usually about a week to 3 weeks on getting the meat back, getting the pork back, because if you don't have any smoked meat, then you may get it back within a week. The processor uses a natural smoke process. They do have a smokehouse, real smoking instead of artificial or flavored smoke. So that of course takes time. So your bacon, your ham, your jowl, those things that traditionally are smoked, yeah, they need to stay in the smokehouse for several weeks. So once all that's ready, we at Red Tool House pick all that up and we deliver it to our customers. It will arrive frozen, vacuum sealed for all the cuts. Your sausage will be in the sausage bags. So we want to make sure that, that you get the product quickly and you get it straight into your freezer. Other questions we have from our customers when it comes to pork sales are, how much pork am I going to get from a whole or half hog? And again, that's kind of relative depending on how you have it processed. Some people don't want to mess with the jowls or the head or the organs or any of those things. So obviously if you're not into that, then you're going to get less. But the easiest way to explain that is if you just go to our website, redtoolhouse.com, and click on our pastured pork link at the top of the page. On that pastured pork page, there's a link to a PDF that kind of explains the average yield for a 250-pound hog. Now again, we're a little bit heavier than that. We go about 350 pounds. But you can get a pretty good idea of how much bacon to expect, how much sausage to expect, pork chops, and all those type of things. So that gives you an idea of how much meat you're going to get there. Another common question is, how big a freezer do I need to store my whole or half hog? Well, again, that's kind of relative, depending on how much meat you get. But if you go to Lowe's or Home Depot or Sears or any of those type of box stores and you find their smallest freezer, not a dorm freezer, but you find their smallest, I think it's about a 1.8, 1.9 cubic feet, you can usually get a half hog in that size freezer. If you're going to get a whole hog, then maybe you want to go about 3 to 4 cubic feet. Again, it all depends on how you get your cuts done. If you have large hams instead of steaks, and obviously that ham is bigger than a football, quite bigger than a football, so it's going to take up a lot of space in the freezer. But that's a pretty good rule of thumb. The smallest freezer that you get, those 1.8, 1.9 cubic feet, can normally handle a half hog. And of course, another question we get is, okay, I want to try Red Tool House pork, but I don't want to buy a half, I don't want to buy a whole, I don't necessarily want to have all that meat, or I'm just a small family, I just can't justify doing that. Do you sell individual pork cuts? The answer to that is yes. We do sell individual pork cuts, but we give our whole and half hog customers priority first. So, for example, right now we have 22 hogs that will be going to processing next month. If I sell wholes and halves of all 22 of those, then I will not have individual cuts available this year. So we give that priority there. If I sell half of those wholes and halves, then yes, we'll definitely be taking those hogs to process and selling individual cuts. That requires a little bit more work for us and for the processor. I have to go through a commercial facility to put my brand on it, but those are inspected even more rigorously. Those cuts come back. I have a 5 freezer bank system with generator backups. So I keep that inventory here. So if you want to buy from me, then you just notify us and we can work out a delivery opportunity there for individual cuts. Just a word of advice, if you're interested in individual cuts, we have them available. Bacon goes immediately. It sells very quickly. Last year we had a little over 200 pounds of bacon and I sold it in 2 weeks. So people love bacon. I don't blame them. I love bacon as well. So if you're interested in cuts, the best thing to do is subscribe to our email list, and that's where we send out the most current news to let you know when cuts are available and what our inventory status looks like. Well, that about wraps it up with the details of what it's like to order pork from Red Tool House. If you have any questions, again, just go to our website and you can use our contact form there to ask us questions or just ping us on Facebook. Take care.